bored. I want to do something, and I don't have Yokai Watch 3 on me. I guess I can look up some videos about... Oh! Huh. Didn't know this guy was here. Well, I guess I could just see what he... Perfect!
Like the shiny stars, light that pop whenever we start. You keep on blinking at me. You never turn away from me. In this fast moving night sky, light the fire up in the night. The journey don't need trouble for a prize. No matter where we go, we will not stop and shining forever.
That I see is not flat, more like panorama, more to it, more over drama, going over this banana.
Hello everyone, Ozzy101 here, and today we have a triple feature. That's right, we got not one, not two, but 3 videos to cover, folks. Meet Luggician, or as I will be calling him, Lugo. He does countdowns, discussion videos, and reviews. And from May 11, 2018 to June 11, 2018, Lugo did 3 reviews relating to the main games of the Yokai Watch series, minus 3 since, well, 3 wasn't out at the time. And as you can tell, I had a couple of issues with the 3 videos. So, with that said, let's begin.
Nothing quite like looking at my library of videos. What the heck? Got copyright claimed? Yokai is why. Or maybe you just chose the wrong music. The year is 2015, and we get to Nintendo's 2015 E3. I misspelled that. Here, let me try again. Okay, in all seriousness, what was really wrong with that E3? I just thought it was alright. Besides, they announced Yokai Watch was coming to America.
These jokes, they almost work, to be honest. Like, in all honesty, the jokes that you're trying to make are fine. I just kind of have an issue with the pacing of them. To me, at least, they seem to be placed at really poor times. There's also the fact that your acting, while it's not the worst, isn't the best, as your tone sometimes just kind of sounds too quiet for its own. Along with there being moments of having too much breathing time in between the jokes per se. Honestly, my advice is to work on the timing of your jokes a bit better and maybe to improve the acting. That's really about it, so other than that, you're mostly fine.
Oh, thank goodness. I was scared for a second. I thought that this story about a 5th grader befriending literal Japanese hellspawn was true.
This story is a work of fiction. All people, places, and organized wait. Did they really put a fictitious story disclaimer in front of a game where a kid talks to ghosts with a watch?
I am going to assume that this was just a coincidence, that you made the same joke and move on. Is that okay? Is that okay? Or is it, we don't have to stay any longer for a war flashback joke regarding my past videos? We don't? We really don't? Okay, good, we're carrying on then.
He even gives Nate the Yokai Watch so that he can see yokai. And we get to use it immediately because there's a yokai known as Boo-Hoo around. So he decides to attack us for some reason, but
yeah, that being reason that you Whisper's Ruckus kinda woke him up, and now he wants to fight you as her act of revenge. Also doesn't help that the footage in your video shows this, but you know, details. I know this point might seem small concerning this moment here, but I don't know if this leads to a bigger issue of Lugo somehow not paying attention to certain moments that happen in the games that I'll be expanding upon as the video continues.
Gotta go fast, gotta go fast, gotta go fast, too fast, too fast, too fast, too fast.
after retrieving a photo of his owner, who for some reason Jibanyan still admires, Jibanyan becomes a nice little kitty and joins us. And he's OP as frick. His attacks are strong, his ultimate attacks all the enemies, it's basically a better version of Kaiden's ultimate, and he has a skill that gives him a stat boost whenever he kills an enemy.
Well, I guess you're not wrong, but I argue that overpower part. Like, maybe early game, but afterwards, not really. Sure, Jibanyan in the first game is a decent D-rate considering his moveset and his skill, but his stats aren't that outstanding aside from his speed and health. And overall, you're getting other yokai who can outrank him in his specialty as a sweeper like Shogunyan, who is easy to unlock in the main game of Yokai Watch, as all the yokai need to get him are either E to C ranks that are easy to befriend, or just flat out given to you in this story. Again, I wouldn't necessarily call Jibanyan bad, because he isn't, but I wouldn't use overpowered either.
Just what we needed to take down that muck. I mean Dismeralda. However, it turns out that Dismeralda was just pretty unhappy with her relationship, and she was unhappy.
She was just upset about her relationship, and she was upset. Lugo, you would be excellent in the redundancy department of redundancy.
Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast, too fast, too fast, too fast, too fast.
You see, you can upgrade your watch later on in the game. This man named Mr. Goodsight, who works at Timers and More, can upgrade your Yokai Watch. I don't know how he can see yokai.
That's because he's a yokai. When you first meet him, he straight up tells you that he's a yokai who takes on a human disguise. This is told to you in the same chat you are currently talking about. Please just pay attention to the dialogue. It's not that hard.
Guys, I want to say something. I hate helicopters.
So a lot of questionable things are happening. So many violent yokai around. What could possibly be the root of this problem? Hope after a visit to a haunted hospital and a fight against Dr. Maddyman who wants to eat your heart out, baby. One of our yokai friends shows us his crystal ball, revealing that someone by the name of Squillis McCracken is ordering all the yokai around.
Not really. Yes, Mr. Squid Dude is the ruler of the yokai world and has control of a certain chunk of the yokai population, but he isn't behind all of the yokai's behavior. At worst, he is behind Dr. Maddyman, Slimander and his crew, and maybe Matsy Face. And that's a big maybe on that last one there. All other yokai were either doing it out of their own volition, like Dismeralda and Sproing, or were actually retaliating to something that a character did, like Rattel when Bear stole a piece of her, or SB Snaggerchat when he disturbed his pawn. Alright, after that, Lugo explains the rest of the first game's ending, and honestly, there isn't much I can hit. So we're gonna go straight ahead to his first review of Yokai Watch 2. Welcome up, guys and gals, this is where the true fun begins.
This feels a lot like hell.
So can we say that Yokai Watch blew up in America, or would that be an understatement?
What alternate timeline did you come from where the first game sold more than 0.44 million units in the US? And can I join you there, please?
This feels a lot like hell.
So now that Nate no longer has any medals, all we have is Bushido and Jibanyan. Fortunately though, we can use the gumball machine on Mount Wildwood to get us another yokai, and we're even given a coin that allows us to choose from a set selection of yokai. Hey, wait a second. Given an option of 3 different yokai to accompany you? Well, guess what? If you thought this was going to be anything like Pokemon, then you couldn't be any farther away from the truth. In Pokemon, your starter Pokemon held some sort of sentimental value. You really did care about them, even if they probably weren't the best member on your team. They're the first Pokemon on your journey, and they do hold up pretty well throughout the game. Unfortunately, I can't feel the same way about Yokai Watch's way of implementing this because of 2 things. For one, all the yokai that are currently here are just kind of mediocre. I replaced them almost immediately. But something that makes me even more upset is that these yokai were regularly available in the first game. But for some reason in this game, this is the only opportunity that you have to get them. Oh, and if you own the first game, then you can get Butinyan here. It's a mixture of Whisper and Jibanyan. How come they're allowed to fuse, but you can't fuse the Rough you can get from the Crank-a-Kai with Jibanyan? They could fuse in the first game. What gives?
So you don't like how Yokai Watch 2 decides to give you a choice out of 3 yokais because they're weak and stuff, but you excuse Pokemon for doing mostly the same thing because, oh, they're meant to be special. No, Lugo. That's not how this works. Since I could say the same thing with how you could just easily do the same with your starter mod. Especially since there are several instances where you could get a mod who does a starter's job better. And it's not like the option you got are even that bad as you state they are. Rough acts as a DC tanky attacker and can evolve to B-rank Bad Dude at level 25, with a useful skill for reflecting damage, and some nice moves for lowering speed and defense. Tattletale is a decent healer who can also defend herself with her Ultimate, has a skill that recovers the HP of the yokai next to her, and her B-rank evolution Tattlecast has went from a fusion to a standard level at level 23. Finally, Mangemon also followed Tattletale in the fact that his B-rank evolution is now attainable at level 22, his Spirit allows the enemy yokai to attack their allies or themselves, and he has T's and power for his physical attacks. Not to mention, you are also wrong about this being the only time to get Mangemon, as you can attain later on through Wayfair Manor. Yes, this is a method that requires using Street Pads, but it's still a way outside of this one occurrence where you can get Mangemon. And in all honesty, it's not like you can't grow attach him. Pardon me for using anecdotal evidence for a second, but I personally chose Tattletale as I remember how much I liked her in the first game. And both my boyfriend Fire for Victory and my baby sis, who I shall dub Spring Jetta, had kept their ref wrapped to the point where Bad Dude was part of their endgame. And honestly, I think you still could have justified you not liking how this was handled by stating how the Pokemon series usually makes a big event out of getting your Starmon, considering getting a star meant the star of your dream. Whereas in Yokai Watch, it just kinda happens. He just kinda gives you a coin and there you go, you got yourself a new yokai. Not to mention, if you wanted more, you would have to use the Street Pass feature, which is easier said than done considering the game only sold 0.22 million units in the US, meaning the chances of finding someone with a copy are lower than the chances of me actually functioning like a proper adult, and is overall more of a hassle than breeding for another starter mod in the Pokemon series. Boom! Fix the session for you. That'll be 300 Oni ores, please. Also, you can technically fuse Ralphau and Jabaya. It just happens in an event in Strawberry's Rose, so when you get Buchanan, it's not really totally against you, but at the same time, it kinda is there. Just kinda felt like you wanted to mention that.
Oh, and also we get introduced to quite possibly one of the worst additions in the game, Key Quest. Every now and then, your progress will be halted by this roadblock called Key Quests. The game will politely request of you to do some side quests. Let me tell you that most of these quests range from stupid to stupid. Also, aren't these called side quests? You know, stuff you can put on the side and do another time, or not do at all, or whatever. How is it a side quest if it's required? And I cannot tell you how many times this just comes up and it's just an abrupt killjoy. In all honesty, I think that they're worse than the watch stores. Oh, don't fret, they didn't remove those, so that's...
Excuse me, what the fuck did you just say? Cause if you're going to tell me that most of the key quests in the game aren't important could have been pushed aside, allow me to go off and say that's bullshit. With the exception of 2 at the start, most of the key quests are usually one of 2 things. 1, they're there to teach you about a mechanic in the game that can help you out, such as fusion, sorcery, the whimsy gates, and even side stuff like hide and seek and racing minigames. Or 2, they're part of the story progression to help you get invested into plot, like fighting your grandfather's yokai friends or mastering Yada's trials. The only one I can partially give you is the quest at the shop one, because outside of the rank B upgrade, those were somehow normal quests and you can avoid them until the game forces you to do them via watch locks, which I will admit, that's pretty fucking stupid for them to do. Otherwise, all other key quests that you need to do is either to advance the plot of the game or to help you learn a mechanic.
Oh, that's what this game is!
I gotta give the game credit for one thing, though. The first boss is pretty good. It's this giant skeleton dude called Gutsy Bones. He's at the very top of the skull, there for some reason, and he plays with this little mini Crankakai. It's a fairly entertaining battle, and it teaches you some good stuff about the boss battles later on. However, his attack animations are way too long. That, and why are we beating him up to begin with? He was just kinda looking spooky, that's it.
Whisper?
I see something rare over there.
I do not get paid enough for this.
But you don't get paid. At all.
Well, I should get paid. I'll take anything. Money, Oni ores, a trip to Nevada to visit my boyfriend, anything.
Oh, that's what this game is!
The watch we currently have, we can't actually see it. But don't worry, Hovernion's friend Nathaniel pops in at just the right second. However, Nathaniel isn't just some random kid. He's actually Nate's grandfather. And he's stubborn, childish, and kinda stupid. The only thing I can really give him credit for is that he was the original creator of the Yokai Watch.
What? Okay, so stubborn I can kinda get, considering how he was hellbent on not taking in much help to beat the wicked, but it's not like he was stubborn for no reason. His backstory explains how, due to being unable to protect his friends, he didn't want to become friends with anyone else until he became strong enough to protect them. Pilot just seems kinda weird since, yeah, he might be your grandfather, and he might be smart enough to create the Yokai Watch Model 0, but you meet him when he is 11. Were you expecting adult levels of maturity from an 11-year-old? And stupid? No, I'm sorry, that's a no from me, Chief. He was smart enough able to train himself to beat the wicked, created the prototype of the watch, and he was able to help train Nate to beat the wicked. Sure, he didn't accept help until near the end, but that's more because of his stubbornness and overall emotional issue he had to learn to get over, not because he's stupid.
Now, at the time period that we're currently at, the Yokai Watch hasn't been created yet. So you know what that means? More key quests! Do you see how tiresome the key quests have become? Like, sure, this time you go to Springdale in the past, and it is kind of cool looking. I actually do like exploring Old Springdale since there are next to no loading screens in this area. However, I don't like having to do more key quests.
Lugo, this is like the third time in the video we have heard you complain about key quests existing. I get you don't like them, but please, I like to kindly not be reminded of the amount of times Jimmy screamed of Pokemon ripoff. Please, stop. Get some help.
Guys, I want to say something. I hate helicopters.
And that's especially shown with this next scenario. Oh, this has gotta be the worst segment in the game overall. Okay, so we just got the Yokai Watch parts from Springdale, and we gave them Nathaniel, so he's finished up that Yokai Watch, and it's an older model. That means it has new abilities. We'll talk about the Yokai Watch in just a second, but Hovernyon actually requests of us to recruit some of Nathaniel's old yokai friends. All 5 of them are currently under a curse that has turned them into stone. Fortunately, Whisper expresses his inner Batman and pulls something right out of his butt that completely solves the problem. And you know what that means? More key quests! Even though we literally just did some key quests earlier. And unfortunately, since we're doing this in the present, and each of the yokai are on a different part of the overworld, we have to take the dreaded transit system.
One yokai in San Fantasticos who you would have to take the train for. The rest are either in Harrisville or Springdale, and you can access those either through the Mirror Post system that you would have unlocked by now, or you could just walk there in the case of getting predictable. Stop making these quick quests out to be much worse than they actually are.
This part is long, it's tedious, and it encompasses all of the things I dislike about this game. It tells you, go here, go here, go here. It involves key quests. 3 out of 5 of the yokai here can't evolve until the post-game, or can't evolve at all.
So you ever get the feeling that you were going to leave a section alone, but then while you're away from the script, you suddenly realize that the particular section you were going to ignore is actually much worse than you thought, so now you have to go back and cover the section? Yeah. That's me with this section. I hope you guys are proud of me, making sure I cover every nook and cranny of a video. Anywho, allow me to say that, yes, Lugo is correct in the fact that only 3 out of 5 yokai you rescue either evolve through fusion in the post-game, these being Predictable and Mermaiden, or don't evolve at all, this being Faux Kappa. However, I have an issue with the fact that you seem to put off these yokai because of this fact when they're pretty good on their own. To go down the list, Predictable is arguably the weakest out of the 3, but his high spirit and attack makes him useful for both healing your teammates and attacking the enemy. His spirit increases the attack of the ally he uses on, so he makes great for physical attackers like Jibanyan and Leiden. And he gets a Heartful Unity bonus with yokai like Tungus to increase his healing potential. Plus, his skill increases the chance of your yokai to dodge attacks. His only downside is his defense, but it's something that an item in a workout at the gym, assuming you unlocked it for the Battle Board at this point, can't fix. Mermaiden is the hardest one to get, and trust me, I will not argue with you on how BS it can be to get her if you don't have Lady Fortune's graces. But she more than makes up for that with her setup as a slightly bulky spirit attacker. Her skill prevents her from getting inspirited with debuffs, making her a nightmare for debuffers like Insomni. Her spirit is high, making her great for being a water spiritual attacker, and she has a decent defense to boot. Her being Slippery Tribe means that she can activate a Unity bonus to get spirit defense, helping allies protect themselves from debuffs, and if she inspires an ally, they can recover some health. Her only real weakness is her physical attack, but honestly, seeing how she is set up, this shouldn't be an issue. And finally, my boy, Faux Kappa, hands down the best out of the 3 options for a sleeper attacker. He has good attack and spirit, making him hit hard either way. His skill is one of the best, preventing your yokai from locating in battle, and this particular skill is a rare one, as the only other yokai you can realistically get in the main story with this skill is Beethoff, and that's only if you went with the Bony Spirits route. If you had Fleshy Souls or I chose the Fleshy round Psychic Weather, well, guess you're shit out of luck! Faux Kappa can get Unity bonus from Charming Yokai for an increased speed, allowing him to hit fast if his high speed didn't do that already, and his spirit also adds onto his speed as well as helping out other sleepers like Jibanyan. His only weakness is that he has low defense, but again, nothing an item and a quick workout can't fix. Sure, he can evolve, but, and this is the funny part, that doesn't mean much when you take a second to remember that Faux Kappa is rank A, literally the second highest rank possible. And you get him at a time when, at most, you could only be friend C rank yokai, and the only other A rank you would have is Miradox. Honestly, the fact that it's evolution that makes you think some of these yokai are not as good kinda says something about you, given that had you actually taken a good look at them, you would have been able to see that these yokai can be very useful to your team if you choose to integrate them.
Finally, they're gone. I can keep these pennies to myself now.
After this, the game sets the story as
Wait, hold it, bartender, get me my coffee, I'm gonna be here a while. Okay, so I've been holding out on this for a while, since technically speaking, while this was an issue with the first few, I feel like it's most appropriate to place my point here, given that this part shows it off to work. So, Lugo, allow me to ask you one very simple question. Why are you not crediting the original footage? Because this isn't your footage. I could tell that much by the name that was given to Nate being Orange, as in the munching orange. And look, in all honesty, I can understand you not having your own footage. I'm not going to expect you to pay up for a 3DS capture card, and to be fair, you don't have your footage fucking you over most of the time, Misanthropony. But you not crediting your original footage is a no-no, considering how it can be easy to, intentionally or no, trick others into thinking that this was your footage, when it isn't. Honestly, Lugo, next time, give some sort of credit, whether at the end of the video or in the description. Alright, now, as you were saying...
After this, the game sets the story aside for just a little while. And this would be a perfect opportunity for me to talk about the new stuff that they added to the gameplay. If there was new stuff that I could talk about.
The near terrifying sorcery, the Whimsy Gates, the site upgrades made to the regular watch to find out about fake food and attributes, hide and seek, bike racing, the sports club where you can mess with the yokai stats and do battle challenges, including boss rushes, the online features like the official battles and trading. Are you sure you don't have anything new to talk about? Anywho, that's it for the second video. Nothing really much aside from maybe one point, but honestly I could hit that in the last review. Speaking of which...
Yeah, go away.
God damn it, I thought I could get away with not nitpicking to the production. What the hell, Lugo? I wanted to not do this. Why did you have to do this? Why? Alright, so let's get the elephant in the room out of the way so I can cover on the more important matters. Your OC. Look, I get what you're going for. You're trying to use a custom sprite for an avatar like Waffle's minion. The problem is that the actual sprite work isn't that good, as it looks less like a well done edit and more like you kinda just slap some pieces from different games together and hope they stick onto the wall. Especially the hat, as it's just placed on top of Luigi from Dream Team without any editing to make Luigi's regular hat disappear. There's also the fact that your sprite is tiny and seems to be hugging a corner of the wall, leaving way too much negative space. Sure, I guess you can argue that you have it set up for the video, but you don't even put the video clips in the right place. So in the end, this setup is gross, and it's bad, and it's disgusting, and I hate it, and it sucks, and it hurts, and it makes my eyes bleed. What I recommend doing is making the avatar a bit bigger to have his head reach the top, and to position the video correctly. While I can't help you on the sprite work, if you do need a decision on how to make the avatar look more presentable than it already is, I suggest either drawing your OC or to commission an artist to make some assets for you. Alright, that's enough graphic design knowledge for now. Back to the game about befriending Spirit.
This is Garbaggio! This is garbage!
So in the normal versions of Yokai Watch 2, we do have the Infinite Inferno. This was also even in the first game, but I didn't bother mentioning it because it's not anything special. You can match harder versions of the regular bosses here, and there is a super boss waiting at the end. But it's really mediocre. Plus it requires too much grinding to even get on the same level as the bosses. And that's all the post-game content for Yokai Watch 2 I wanted to talk about. I guess we should move on to Psychic Spectres.
And the ball finally drops. So, excuse me, no, we are not done with Choose Original post-game content. Get the heck back here! So while yes, you are correct that the Infinite Inferno was reused from the first game, that wasn't the only thing the post-game had. There was also the Divine Paradise, another secret dungeon unlocked after beating the Infinite Inferno with its own super boss. There are also certain requests that come out after you beat the main game. Namely, the request where you get either QB or Venok, the request where you get one of the generals from the war, and the Master Yana trials 1 through 3, where you get the Muncher and Master Yana himself. And that's not to mention elements that you may have put off till then, like the request where you could face the bosses of the first game, the Infinite Tunnel and its hidden boss, and dealing with Terror Time facing all the Onis and chance to earn more Oni orbs. Really, there is more to the postgame than you let on, and it would have been beneficial to go over all of it rather than to leave out most of it. Actually, holy shit, wait a moment. That's it! That's the main issue with these videos! It's the fact that you don't go over everything about the games. You kind of just pick and choose what to cover without realizing you may be leaving out something important that might be worth covering. You did this in your first video with Terror Time the Infinite Inferno, as you just sort of acknowledged Terror Time's existence without explaining how it affects the game, as you now have a chance of entering it whenever you're outside on the overworld, and pretty much ignored the post-game dungeon. You did this with your Yokai Watch 2 review, and basically ignoring almost every new feature added, and now you're doing it here with the post-game content. Honestly, this shows laziness on your part, because by not at least mentioning these bits of the game and how they can affect the player's experience means that you didn't seem to have enough experience to really judge a game on its own merits. And look, I'm not asking you to write a honors college thesis paper on every single plea. No, that would be stupid and unreasonable. But at the very least, you could take the time out to go into a little detail about these features and what you thought of them. Now, before you and anyone else brings it up, yes, I know the reason why you brought up in the last video why you didn't cover the post-game of the original there, being that you felt like you were taking too long.
Unfortunately, I've run out of time to talk about the post-game stuff. 20 minutes is a little bit long, don't you think?
But in all honesty, I don't feel like that's a good reason, cause one, if this rough-minute blurb was all you had to say for the original Yokai Watch 2's post-game content, you really couldn't have squeezed it in at the end? Like, come on, dude. It's not that hard. And two, why do you need to be worried about making a long review? Is someone forcing you to? I don't think anyone is. Are you trying to restrict yourself or something? Cause you don't need to. These are, at the end of the day, your videos. And if you need to make them 30 minutes, 40 minutes, heck, maybe even an hour long in order to make your views be known, then you can. It's not like people haven't shown interest in long reviews. Like here, let me bring up some examples. Nitrat, previous target and personal favorite reviewer, has reviews that span from roughly 10 minutes to over 40 minutes. And yet, because of his personality and how he covers the games he talks about, he's able to keep a decent amount of attention, ranging from the 10,000 to over 100,000 views depending on the video. Sunkami Donnie has views that can range from about 15 minutes to roughly 30 and 40 minutes, and yet those reviews are still some of his most popular content out there. The Quarter Guide's review of X7 is a rough 30 minutes, and yet it still made about the same amount of views as his countdowns, and while his Lords of Shadow review didn't get as much attention, it still received a decent amount, barely running out at 7,000 as a scripting disc. And finally, Remake or Rebreak, a series of reviews made by Expo Paradigm Gamer, has videos that have reached the near hour length, if not over. These include Superstar Saga, Luigi's Mansion, Mega Man and Base, and Pac-Man World. And these reviews got over 100k views. All the examples I have listed usually receive positive reception on their views, and it's for a reason. It's because they cover everything that needs to be covered, and they do it well. You don't do that, Lugo. So as a result, you either miss a chance at covering something with an interesting perspective, or you do cover it, but it's in a way that's decent at best, shoddy at worst. Really, if I wanted you to take one thing from this entire video, it's to not be afraid to go a bit extra to get your viewers across. Obviously, you still need to restrain yourself, because again, we don't need a thesis paper on absolutely positively everything. But to cover at least the stuff that matters in the most appropriate amount of detail, while also explaining your views on the subject, is what you should be doing. I like how this started as a point complaining about how Lugo forgot some pieces of the postgame and ended up becoming the third mini essay I had in this entire commentary. At least my final thoughts will be short. Jesus Christ.
Now everyone, please comment the letter F below for Azzy's throat, as it has died in the recording of this point. May it rest in peace in Yokai Heaven.
Knock, open
Open up the door to spill. With the non-stop pop out and stainless steel.
Another major selling point for this game was more backstory. There was a whole segment dedicated to just Jibanyan's past. I feel like it was very well handled and stuff, so I was completely fine with them adding in more backstories, such as Whispers. Yep, Whisper has a lot to work with, nothing that they're just going to throw together.
Hello, yes, police? I'd like to arrest Lugo here. See, he ear raped me, but the problem is that now my ears are bleeding. Please send to the principal office and have him be expelled for having his ear rape be way too loud even for ear rape. Thank you!
Oh, I'm sorry, but did anyone actually care about Whisper's backstory? And I'm talking about that on a developer and a consumer standpoint.
Oh, screw you too, Lugo!
Okay, so Kinnigan are revived by Bronzo and they send Jibanyan and Whisper back to the feudal Japan era. It is revealed that Whisper actually used to be the butler of a great king. However, like other yokai, Whisper had a inspirament. His inspirament is whenever he'd sneeze on people and they would utter nonsense. In fact, I get the feeling that he's about to inspirit me. This story is good.
Okay, so I know what joke you're trying to do here. Maybe because I have seen this joke be attempted by someone else before. However, my issue with this joke is that you acknowledge that yokai is inspiriting you. See, if you want to make the yokai inspires me to do a thing joke work, you can't really acknowledge the yokai sees me because you shouldn't be knowing that a yokai is influencing you until the end. When you go along the lines of, oh my bad, something just came over me. As an example of this being done quote unquote better per se. This bit from Marcus Yamamoto's second video on me. Also, while I get what you're trying to do with a voice distortion joke, it falls flat due to your single image of Venom just kinda there, not doing anything. And honestly, this would have been really easy to fix. Assuming you use Movie Maker to make your videos, all you have to do is just duplicate the image, crop the duplicate, then add in a red hue over the duplicate with something like GIMP or Paint.net. Then simply put in the pic where the distortion is. Or alternatively, use a picture of Shadow Fennec, as he would fit the distortion better than Venom.
Is this better?
Sorry about that, I couldn't help myself.
Now, while yes, the joke here doesn't work since Marcus had the particular guy do the opposite of his job, and he doesn't really let us know what that job is in the first place so the viewer could get the joke, he still tried to do something that was under the influence of a yokai, before snapping out of it and going, oh my bee, I don't know what came over me, while having the yokai, in this case Negusis, in the background unnoticed by him. In your particular case, Lugo, all you would have had to do is to make it look like you got spirited, probably through a flash transition accompanied by a sound effect, as that would probably be the easiest way to do it, say the nonsense, but then revert back to normal saying that something had came over you. Boom! Now it works, makes sense, and you're still better than Marcus Yamamoto. That'll be another 300 Oni ores, please.
Oh my pet ostrich's lamp. This boss is stupid. For those of you who are unaware, this is the creator of Yokai Watch, and he wants to turn your anus inside out.
Wait, he is? I mean, I know Hino's all is based on Lo-Fi CEO Akihiro Hino, but last time I checked, the yokai himself didn't create the games. Don't tell me that you believe yokai are real too. I swear to God, I will go ahead and actually scream.
Sure, he'll punch you in the face, he'll summon yokai to act as his companions, and also, he likes spamming laser beam. Most of these laser beam attacks don't bother me that much, except for the one that has smaller laser beams chasing you. Okay, so you want to do a lot of damage against this boss, so you're going to be using your strong attack, but you can only use your strong attack at a standstill. However, while you're standing still, all of those mini laser beams can stack on top of you and kill you at once.
Your footage shows that, right? Like, really, of all the times that you show off what you're talking about, this is probably one of the worst moments, as all of your footage is just kind of mishmashed, causing you to show off certain moments after you mention it, like the spawning an allies bit, or before it, like with the laser attacks here. Please learn to time your stuff.
This is one of the most incredibly stupid boss fights out there, and guess what? He has the audacity in his bio to call himself a legend, a god among all yokai of creativity. Yeah, calling yourself creative. This is the same person who copied the same thing that Pokemon did.
Oh, hello 2010 Countdown community, fancy seeing you here. Now, get out you mustache, hat-wearing, hoodless, bride-posing, void-dwelling, medal-giving peck-neck! Okay, in all seriousness, first off, no. He Knows All isn't trying to call himself godlike. That's just what the info recorded about states thanks to his ability to create multiple worlds, which can be seen as godlike. After all, there are such things as creation gods. Just take a look at Master Hand and Arceus. Second, not only is your stat at level 5, because this is basically what this moment is, not work, thanks to your acting making your attempt at a condescending toe fall flat on its face, but outside of how they handled the game having two different versions, the choosing of the yokai and the re-release, yokai does not copy off of Pokemon. I mean, unless you counted being a monster collector as it being copied off of Pokemon, but that doesn't work. Since just because it's a game where you can collect monsters to fight with you, that doesn't mean it's a Pokemon ripoff. By that logic, Monster Hunter Stories is also a Pokemon ripoff. And I know saying that will have Fire coming in to lecture me on every way that statement is false, from how you get the monsters to the battle system. I really don't need him getting onto my ass. And that's about it. Lugo ends the review by giving his final thoughts on the game and saying that he would review the third game when he comes out. Which, by the way, is out, Lugo. You know it's out. I'm waiting for it. But in the meantime, it's now time for my final thoughts. Alright, Lugo, I'm gonna be real with you here. These videos were actually not that bad, to be honest. I will admit, you had some decent moments from time to time, and if I had to be honest, I prefer your reviews to Jimmy's review of the first game and the entire existence of Market Channel in the Infinite Inferno chain. Trademarked. But they still weren't that great. As I said before, the biggest issue I have is how you left out stuff due to placing some time limit on yourself, as this made you leave out important features you could have talked about and overall hinders your ability to explain some of your views on the games themselves. Look, Lugo, don't be worried about how much time you spend talking about stuff like the post-game, the story, or what have you. What should matter at the end of the day is your points and how you explain them. So long as you can do that and be entertaining, I'm sure your reviewers will thank you for it. Aside from that, my other advice is to work on timing some of your footage better, pay attention to certain things in the games a bit more, credit the footage that you are using, and overall touching up on your editing and acting skills will help out too. And honestly, if you need any help with your script at all, I am always open on Twitter at QAzov101, and I would be glad to help you out with anything. Alright, so that's the end of the video. I'm Azov101, and I'm now going to bug Keyblade Master about getting the next Ozzy X episode out. I have an episode waiting for him, and honestly, I can't wait to get to it. Bye bye!
止まらないよ止まらないよ溢れそうな想いは世界中で遊びたいって心からの希望止まらないよ止まらないよ溢れそうな想いは誰かのためじゃなくて自分勝手なパッション勝手にやっちゃえ Let's go
I can play with you afterwards, but can I finish? I got a script. I've been needing to do this. I think after this moment, I'm trying to do the, say something about you given that, and I'm gonna have to redo that line. Then afterwards, we got, I think 5 more pages? Give or take? Look, it was 3 Yokai Watch reviews, okay? It was gonna be... I think so. It's just gonna be a while. Please, can I... Okay, close the door. Thank you. She's a bean.
Well, how about we make a deal? I'll start paying you anything if you make more pictures of the fallen angel's sexy maid.